Looks like it might work.
Wait, what do I do on Facebook?
You're gonna post. Okay. Okay, so we have a sound delay. Dude, I don't know.
Alright, hold on.
Okay, so we have a sound delay.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. Talking myself in the past. 10 seconds.
Look, it even says it average latency 10 seconds.
Oh, that's why. Cool. Now I just gotta figure out how to do this.
Thank God nobody's watching this.
Okay, well, hold on, let me see.
Oh, that's why.
Okay, you're gonna sign on to mine. That way you can access the College Republican page.
Hold on.
There we go. I did it.
You did it?
Well, 10-second delay, so hold on.
Yeah, that's fine.
There we go.
Sorry, anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
sign out
delay,
and then sign into mine. That way you can access the,
Awesome.
the UTEP CRs.
There we go.
It's so weird.
Alright, here.
It's like a. It's like a picture within a picture.
Yeah, that's what I was just...
It's like a.
This is only a 7-day free trial, though, so I need to find an alternative soon.
What?
This software, the one that's streaming my screen.
For future reference, let's use Zoom.
Because Zoom is free. It's easy.
But what about the other person?
People don't have to have accounts. People don't have to have accounts. They just need to be sent an invitation.
Sounds good.
Well, they have to download the software, but they don't have to have an account.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
It's easy. It's easy.
How do you fix a sound delay?
That's just how live works. It's not like when you watch a football game, you're watching the very exact second. You know what I mean? It's like when you're airing.
You got like the
It just sounds weird since, I mean, we're
That's just how
there.
live works.
It's not like when you watch a football game, you're watching the very exact second. You know what I mean? It's like when you're.
What are you trying to do?
It just sounds weird since.
You zoomed way the hell out.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. Are you gonna put this like?
You want me to follow you?
Sure. You're gonna take a look.
Yeah. You can scroll.
I can take you. I think it's better if you go on. Get straight home.
So what I need you to do is watch the live stream itself. That way, if we get any questions at all, you can filter them through me. Just get a pen and paper and then write them down. Or I'll just Microsoft Word. Okay, yeah, that's quick and faster.
Quick and easy for me. I'll be sitting in the background.
I want to see something.
Okay.
Just as long as I'm near an outlet.
Okay, it says we're live now. One person watching, which is I don't know who.
Maybe us.
Oh, they see. Okay. They can see our screen.
I just want to see something.
Who shared my picture?
Someone. I guess
That's all
Mariana.
you care about.
That's me, guys.
2 watching.
They can see our screen. I guess
I got 2 buyers though. So I need 2 shirts.
Nice. Just let
Well,
Justin.
I'll take the money first.
Yeah, but let Justin know when you get in, or when he gets in.
2 watching.
Oh. Or did that.
Okay, it looks like we're good.
Yeah.
Alright, I put out a message right here. 1.
So we're not screen within a screen within a screen.
This is just like what people are seeing live.
Okay.
That little square.
All right, sounds good. So
You
now,
know how this guy go and not.
I suppose that.
And I turn off the volume of the live stream so we don't hear the echo.
Okay.
We know it works now.
That lifted up my mood.
What?
They use my fish. Do you have a thirst trap or something?
All right, guys.
Do you see my? Hold on.
What's up?
Oh, never mind. I'm the only one who's on right now.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay.
Me get myself plugged in somewhere.
Oh, college.
All right, guys. Everybody good? Okay.
Six.
Starting the call now.
Sister's on her way.
Oh, hit the green circle on the top left to go full screen.
Green circle in the top left.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so after 6 trial and error calls, we were finally here with Blonde in the Belly of the Beast. She's also known as Libtard America on Twitter. Beauty from Beauty and the Beta podcast with Matt Christensen. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
We're doing good. I'm Isaac Yepes, the recruitment officer for the UTEP College Republicans, and we would like to welcome you and thank you for doing this on such short notice.
Thank you for inviting me. This is cool. I haven't done one of these before.
Yeah, this is the second time we've done this, so it's a little shaky for us. Let's dive right into it. You had an altercation via Twitter with, was it Robert Hill?
Daniel Hill.
Daniel Hill. And he doxed your family. Now, can you tell us about that?
He's a journalist from the Riverfront Times. I grew up in St. Louis, and that's like our hometown newspaper. And so he wrote this. He's the music editor. He wrote this scathing article about me, where basically just called me a bitch and a hoe the whole time. Like, didn't put to rest any of my arguments. And then he got on Twitter, and he's like, he had mined my last name from the comments from people I went to high school with. And then he posted my parents' names, like my brother's names, and their occupations on Twitter. So, and my information had been anonymous until then. And so I was really worried, because my dad's a doctor, I was really worried about like his practice and my brother as well. And I was like, getting threats all that week and everything. But he immediately shut down his Twitter account, and I'm sure he's gotten in some serious trouble at his paper. So he hasn't really he hasn't come back from underneath the water. He's not back on Twitter yet. This was like a month ago.
Now, do you know whether this was politically motivated, or why exactly did he do what he did? Because it's incredibly unprofessional.
Yeah, I think it was politically motivated. We have a lot of hipsters in St. Louis. Like, it's a really rundown community, and so they're trying to revive it by bringing in this artist culture, this like home brewing, bearded, like poor artist type. I'm like, this is not going to work, guys. It's totally not going to work. And so I could tell we were ideologically opposed. And he probably had friends that went to my high school and stuff like that. It might have been personal. You know how people get about their hometowns.
Yeah.
It was my hometown too, and it was sad to just see it crumble while I lived there.
Now, when you see events like this take place and people are taking very personal shots at others, especially we see it a lot on the left going against the right, do you think it's because the tide is starting to change, or do you think this vitriol is to suppress any tide changing in the future?
I think that the left, they have this tendency to kind of act like petulant children. And so when they feel like their territory, even their intellectual space, is being encroached upon, they're going to lash out in like a verbally abusive way or even in a violent way. And I think this is just a pattern that we're seeing. And so I think that it's both that it's being encroached upon and that the tides are turning. Like, they're feeling very threatened. And that's why we're seeing this position of defensiveness on the left right now. Like, really crazy stuff like the Donald Trump child rape accusation that was totally baseless. Like, we're seeing them like go for the groin right now.
Yeah. Now, given that, especially with Donald Trump and the election tomorrow, do you think, even though the GOP establishment has largely not endorsed Donald Trump until recently, do you think that he's a necessary person for this new cultural libertarian movement?
Do you mean like from the perspective of the GOP?
From the perspective of the right as a whole, GOP, the alt-right, and others affiliated with right-wing ideology.
I mean, I think he's going to redefine conservatism as we know it. And we've seen this from the reaction of establishment conservatives as well, like McCain and Paul Ryan. Like, I think that what the alt-right really is about saying it's a big FU to the establishment, and that means Republicans too. And so we're going to see like I think a restructuring of both parties, because that's really what people, like the Bushes, as far as I'm concerned, they might as well just be the Clintons. Like when I look back at that era, I'm like, this is one and the same. These are big government people that are thirsty for power, and just want to expand their prowess globally. And they're all globalists too. They're all globalists. And so I think that we're really going to see a return to actual material conservatism within Republicans.
Now, a lot of people, they hear the term globalist, but I don't think they truly understand it. So can you define that and then define how it is antithetical to nationalism?
When I think of globalism, I think about a borderless society, especially from an economic standpoint. And that's antithetical to capitalism because capitalism is only really effective when everybody is able to make their own domain work and function like a well-oiled machine. And so that's this borderless society, we run into some problems because nobody's really specialized at what their country is best at. And so we run into problems with trade, with manufacturing. Everything just becomes a big clusterfuck. Ooh, sorry. Oh, you said I could cut. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. You are good to go.
Yeah.
Super professional, right?
Yeah, you're getting some positive feedback for that one. Now, with the shifting political alignment in Europe right now, do you think that's going to carry over into the U.S., or are we going to stay apart from that? Because they are clearly rejecting cultural Marxism and open borders with the incredible right-wing, extremely right-wing positions such as Golden Dawn or the Austrians voting in one of their extreme right-wing guys.
I think that we are seeing that phenomenon with Trump. I mean, all of these people, Marine Le Pen, they're all nationalists, Geert Wilders. I think that is really what is at the root of all of these movements. It's that people are tired of being told that they can't be nationalistic, that they can't be patriotic. And this is just a movement of populism. It's a movement of nationalism. And so I kind of think that it's all one and the same, and that it's all brewing, from a really deep place. But I think it's more pervasive in Europe right now because they have a very pressing problem with economic migrants and Islam invading their countries, which we're not really seeing because we still have a Muslim population less than 1% probably.
Now, given these sudden changes, do you think that there will be a revolution, be it albeit peaceful, or do you think there might be a more violent reaction in the near future?
In our country?
In Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what happens. I think that Germany's probably already committed cultural suicide. I mean, they have a population of 29 million. They have 1.5 million economic migrants that are inassimilable. I don't know how they're going to, and Sweden as well, I don't know how they're going to be able to take those countries back. But France, if, they get Marine Le Pen in, Denmark might be okay. If these countries, really tighten up their border control, they look to Hungary and Poland and Eastern European countries that are still, functioning well and they have their border integrity intact, then they might be okay. But as far as this no side, I don't think that Germany's, I don't know how they're gonna fix this. I mean. Yeah,
and with the West, you see this unique perspective from the left wing where they seem to pose border security as a racial problem. Now, how do you respond to that and explain to somebody who takes that position that it is not indeed a racial discrimination policy? It's more of an economic security and security of the nation itself.
Right. I like to tackle that issue by going straight to the ideology because, speaking out against Islam is not a race. And so I correctly point that out to people all the time, but they just boggles their mind. They just melt down. I'm like, no, I'm talking about an idea, a problem I have with an idea and a group of people that have adopted this idea and it's manifesting itself in extremely destructive ways from a cultural perspective. So I can skirt the entire race issue if I just talk about the ideology, but they still, that still really gets their blood boiling.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as well. But I keep trying.
Yeah, and also with this left-wing ideology of making everything a problem of race or gender or some kind of identity, how do you see the perspective working where they claim to be the party of the people, but also elitists in that when they see people who vote for Donald Trump, they say, you know, they're uneducated, they're poor, and they're just bigots because they don't have any experience and they're ignorant in terms of culture.
What was the question?
So, given this ideology where they make identity a problem in every way, how do you think it pans out for them that they claim to be a party of the people and at the same time also elitists?
Well, they're totally hypocritical, and this is really obvious in Seattle because it's all these like wealthy white elitists that are like, you need multiculturalism and diversity in your communities, but they all live in like white, rich enclaves where they never have interactions with anybody that's a minority. So they're totally hypocritical about this. And like, who is whiter than like wealthy Democrats? I mean,
yeah,
really.
Well,
We even have more racial diversity amongst Republicans these days. I mean, look at the Milos and people like that. Like, we're a pretty diverse group.
Yeah.
A lot of hypocrisy there.
If you take a look at the organization I'm a part of, we're mostly Hispanic, and we took a trip this weekend to Albuquerque to drive for Trump, and we were told we were fascists. We were told we were in the wrong neighborhood. We were told, I was told personally that I was a wannabe white boy for disagreeing with affirmative action. Do you think that this is a result of cultural Marxism turning everybody into two classes where you can only either be an oppressor or the oppressed?
Yeah, I think that that's definitely true. And then I think that kind of promoting this divisiveness, it fractures society. And this is what the left really wants. They want to kind of be able to control people from behind the curtain, and that means destroying communities, that means destroying the nuclear family, that means destroying entities that are going to be able to stand on their own without government help, without government influence. And so those are the things that they really try to attack. And then by creating this war against the genders, this war against the races, they're able to very effectively go after those things.
And why do you think this division is being caused? I don't think it's really happening organically. I think it's indoctrination within the education system. So what do you think the end goal of this is supposed to be?
I mean, I really do think that it's about their end goal is fracturing communities and making it and having a lot of in-group fighting, because with a population like that, you're able to create chaos that you can then control, and then you have the power. And we see this pattern throughout history. It's just, fascism expressed in all these different ways, but it's fundamentally the same thing.
Yeah, and you see with Hillary Clinton, she claimed that under she and Obama's care, we had economic prosperity, but you look at the Americans on welfare numbers, and it's completely untrue. So,
and how they cook the books with the unemployment numbers too. It's like, I can't even believe that anybody believes this. 4.9% unemployment. I'm like, have any of you been to LA? Tell me that there's 4.9% unemployment. I'm not buying this.
Yeah, and with this election, we might see the Kim Jong-un, 99% voter turnout for him.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and how do you feel about the media, their portrayal of James Comey? Because when he first, kind of let Hillary Clinton go, they were saying, "Oh, he's great. He's standing up for the right causes." But then when he reopened the case, he was, destroying democracy as we know it.
Yeah, he's some right-wing shill.
Yeah.
The Russians are paying him.
So how do you think? And there's side-by-side photos all over Google and YouTube now about this hypocrisy. So what do you think? What do you think people are gonna see after the election, or do you think they're just gonna sweep it under the rug?
I mean, no matter what, this distrust of Hillary is not going to disperse, no matter what happens. As far as the treatment of Comey is concerned, his behavior has been really inexplicable to me, but I can only imagine that he's being pulled between huge internal forces at the FBI. I know the NYPD is involved now because they have domain over the area where they got Anthony Weiner's laptop, so they're involved in this now too. And then he's got to be being pulled from the Clinton campaign and all of her people, which includes the mainstream media. I mean, there's so many people in the tank. So I kind of feel for Comey. I'm like, throw a pair, you know. It seems like he's being pretty spineless. But he's also being pulled from so many directions. And, like, the Clintons, like, they are not messing around. They'll ruin you. They will ruin you. And he knows that, and his career's on the line. But, I mean, the FBI's lost all credibility as far as I'm concerned. I mean, next time I hear that they do something, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt because they've proven, at a minimum, they're incompetent, and they may just be in the tank for Hillary. So they're not really an objective, indifferent, you know, resource.
Yeah, and speaking of Comey growing a pair, do you think Anthony Weiner may have just saved the election for Donald Trump?
I know, right? Can you believe it? It's going to be Anthony Weiner that ends up saving Western civilization as we know it. Just that squirrely guy. He's just the worst. But he might have done it. And then Huma, who's like almost as bad as he is, you know, she's so icy. She might have saved us too. I don't know. We'll see. But I do know that they did not go through those 650,000 emails in 9 days. I'm calling bullshit on that. There's just no way.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what to make of this information. I mean, why did he even put out the letter in the first place? Why?
Yeah, that was a bit of a strange call there. And when you talk about inexplicable actions, I remember you had interviewed a woman after an altercation at a certain rally where she was trying to get a man to go home, and he kept refusing to do that and refusing to obey her commands. And then she walked out of the crowd and started crying. Can you elaborate on what happened exactly?
That was at the Republican National Convention. I went with my podcast co-host, Matt. And there was this super feminist girl. She was part of an organization called Code Pink. And she was fighting with this traditionalist man. And he was saying, you know, if you're going to have kids, you should stay at home with your kids. And she, you know, she told him to check his privilege. It was just like, it was so cringy. It was really hard to watch. But she had this, like, beta white knight guy that I could tell wasn't really her boyfriend, but was just kind of comforting her. And he was just waiting for her to start crying so that he could, like, be there for her. It's going to be okay. And so she just burst into tears because somebody has opposed her opinion. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Nobody's ever said no to me before in my entire life. And so she just goes over and just starts crying on this guy's shoulder. And, I mean, you know, in the real world, you're going to meet people that disagree with you, and you're going to have to engage in some conflict. Like, you can't just be running and crying in your safe space or, you know, crying on this guy's shoulder. Like, get it together. And so we were just laughing in her face. I mean, when I reviewed the footage, like, my parents were like, you are so mean. That was so mean of you. And I'm like, I just don't feel bad. I feel nothing but happiness and joy when I review this footage. I mean, did this girl not have this coming? I mean, it was unbelievable. Check your privilege. Ugh, God.
So do you think that's going to be the next biggest weapon in fighting cultural Marxism, not cowering down to moral implications and moral commands? Do you think that's why Donald Trump has seen such a rise?
Yeah, I think that's important, that we need to kind of just face this and just learn how to accept the personal attacks. I mean, if we look at what Trump does, everybody says he's got kind of a fragile ego, and I think that's true, and he lashes out at people, but, like, he also has made it okay for us to kind of take shots at each other without it just silencing the opposing party. Like, you know, these social justice warriors, they want to yell at me and call me a racist and a bitch, and, like, that doesn't affect me at all. It's like, attack my argument, but they never want to do that. They never want to have a discussion about the ideas, and that's how you know that what they believe is because they can't stand behind it.
And so do you think that this kind of taking jabs at each other, do you think that will actually open up doors to dialogue?
I think so, and Milo says it's a lot, like, you've got to be on the edge of things. I always talk this way. I've always been kind of controversial, but, like, I do believe that it's a way for us to kind of desensitize ourselves to a normal level of conversation where, like, if I call somebody a fag or something, like, it's not going to be some total meltdown, emotional meltdown, whatever. And we need to get to that place because you can't function in the real world as a social justice warrior because these people are trying to change the world to fit their image of what is and is not acceptable. But that's not how things work. They need to reprocess and redefine their worldview because that's the only way they're going to be successful.
Now, seeing some of these meltdowns firsthand, can you give us some highlights on what you saw at the RNC or any of the other in-person events that you did?
Oh man, some highlights. There was this one.
Did we lose her?
No.
Oh, okay, you're back. You're back.
One conversation I had really stuck out in my mind. It was this girl. She was holding a "Shout Your Abortion" sign. And abortion is kind of an issue. When I was in college, I was a libertarian. I went to Mizzou. And abortion was kind of an issue where I was always like, you know. But recently, I've really started to think that it's very revolting. And then I was talking to this girl at the Republican National Convention, and my podcast co-host was like, "Do you believe that you should be proud that you had an abortion?" And she like looked him dead in the eye, and she's like, "Absolutely, I'm proud. Absolutely, I'm proud of that." And I was just like totally stunned. I'm like, in what perverse world do we live in that a girl can kill her own child and say that it's a point of pride with the kind of person that she is? Like, we have gone so far from where we came from as a society. Like, this degeneracy is just shocking, and it was a slow drip. I didn't even notice it happening until one day I looked around and I'm like, wow, everybody's a degenerate. We're all degenerates.
Now, you mentioned you went to Mizzou, and recently Melissa Click and the Concerned Student 1950, I think, they kind of destroyed the fabric of that university with what they were doing.
Yeah.
Now, what is your take on that, given that you did graduate from there?
I graduated in 2010, and I swear to God, I do not remember like half of this social justice warrior nonsense. But I never saw any real instances of racism when I went there either. Like, it was everybody existed symbiotically. So when I started seeing this stuff happening, I'm like, wow, 5 years, and this entire institution has gone to shit. But it has basically rendered my degree worthless, because even though my channel has rendered my career, I'm never going to be able to get another job anywhere publicly ever again. But people will look at my Mizzou degree and be like, oh, finance from Mizzou, worthless. Should have gone to trade school. And then their tuition, or not their tuition, their enrollment is down like 30% this last year. They're out $35 million. It's like, people don't want to go to these schools where you're just going to have a crappy liberal arts education. You're going to be 40 grand in debt, and then when you get out of school, you're not going to get a job. Like, yeah, people are going to want to be plumbers again after that.
So do you think in the near future we could see colleges rejecting the safe space culture and fainting couch feminism, and they will start to make it a selling point that they do reject it?
Yeah, I think so. And we've seen this. I think it might have been University of
Oh.
Chicago.
Are we good? I don't know. Did I break it?
No, I'm pretty sure it's like.
It's just the Wi-Fi signal.
Okay. Let's just wait for her to come back. Oh. Oh man. I think we're gonna have to. She'll call. You can hear me. I think that's. Oh man. Okay, so in the meantime, while we wait to reconnect with her, man, I'm not really sure what.
The stream has been fine so far.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was fine up until
Do we have any questions from the live stream?
In your opinion, are there no benefits to having abortion clinics?
All right, that's a good one. The utilitarian approach. I apologize for the delay. It's fine. I know. I haven't even cussed.
You're your best behavior. She's already run out of control.
I know, she's all, I hate these guys.
Yeah.
They've ruined my night. Okay, maybe she does actually hate us. I don't know.
Maybe it's a problem on her side.
It could be.
I mean, let's see if you're really college.
Yeah. All right. Give it a second.
It's a few seconds delay, but it's coming out smoothly.
Okay.
So from
So that's good, right? But like,
yeah, from my lens perspective, it's been after. So I guess I'm your tester.
anybody got any jokes?
There's a lot of very tasteless ones.
I think if people in here start telling jokes, it might be the end of the stream as we know it.
Never mind, no jokes. We're ordering smoking stuff, so.
Does anybody have the sheet of paper to pass around for the questions? Can you do that? Thanks.
Try sending her a text on that thing. On Skype.
Yeah, let's see. I had a couple of great questions in my head and I kept forgetting them. It would take me 6-7 minutes to remember it, and then I would ask. I was like, oh, that was kind of refreshing. I don't use Max. Where do I go to do that?
My command R. Just right. Something comes to your mind.
All right, thanks, man. Does anybody remember what the bill was that Dr. Peterson was talking about last week? It was Bill 16, was it not?
Something like that.
Can you search the New York bill for me? Thank you.
New York bill.
About the misgendering people. You have to recognize 31 genders, and if you misgender one of them, you can get fined. I forgot the exact amount of money that it was.
Hey, Isaac, I don't need to be that guy, but there's another organization that will be coming after us.
Mhm.
Gender stuff. I think it's like it says.
Okay.
Try card.
I think she might be down. Let's see. She did say something always happens.
Yeah,
We were warned.
Seattle has even worse internet.
Yeah, maybe she's in a storm. you better. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened there.
Check make sure you're still connected to the internet.
No, you are.
Yeah, because it's still streaming, right?
Don't work,
Yeah.
yeah, we're streaming.
Peter, are we still good on that?
Yeah, the stream's still fine. Just waiting on whatever I see.
Yeah, because it's still streaming, right? This is nice to hear myself. All right. Does anybody have any questions about what was discussed right now? We're good? All right.
How do you get into the RNC?
How'd she get into the RNC?
All about how she feels about feminism.
Oh, okay. Oh, was that? I don't. I'm not sure what that was. Yeah.
Sorry to the two people watching this live stream. There's 3 people watching. I'm assuming one is people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're going to be posting it on their channel after.
Because the first time we started skipping school, she tried to cut us off. She tried to.
All right, so I'm going to give it another 5 minutes, and if there's nothing going on with the connection, we'll just run through the questions from the room, and then we'll shut down the live stream.
Yes, I got it.
Oh. Wait, we got a missed call. Okay, so we lost you there. Not quite sure what happened. I don't know. But
I don't know how to go.
oh,
Oh, there we go.
okay, we're good.
Yeah, and it wouldn't pick up on my phone either. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. So as you were saying,
What were we talking about? Colleges and safe spaces, University of Chicago.
Chicago.
I can't remember where I was going with that.
That's where we're at.
What was
Yeah.
the original question? Where did we stop?
We're talking about
uh, but what was the original question?
They're now like safe space free. Like they don't do that safe.
Oh yeah. The selling point of colleges, the new one, will
That's
be
right,
the
that's
rejection.
I mean, colleges are businesses, so they don't want to have, schools that nobody goes to. They've got to make money too. And if the norm is getting an education that's going to teach you something, like a tangible education like it used to be, not everybody went to college, now it's a requirement, then they're going to tailor their curriculum to teach you valuable skills like they used to.
And do you think that's why there's been a surge in the value of trade schools because of this?
Yeah, definitely.
And
I think that people can kind of feel that there are economic problems brewing, and so instinctively they want to acquire kind of harder skills, more, not more difficult, but like more tangible, more real skills.
now we have a couple of questions from the room. What message does it send to the American people if Clinton wins the Electoral College vote, but Trump wins the popular vote?
I mean, I think it's going to reinforce this rigged system dealio that Trump has made so abundantly clear. But I think he's right about that, even though it's kind of like a tired line. I mean, if we are in a situation where somebody like Hillary Clinton can cheat Bernie Sanders out of the nomination and then like slide her way into the presidency just barely while basically being under federal investigation, like we got to seriously rethink our democracy because it is not working. It's not. If that happens, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, we got to take a new route. The America Project has failed if Hillary gets in.
Yeah, and given this the scandal with Bernie Sanders, why do you think it hasn't mattered to the DNC that this was rigged and they were caught doing it?
Like people within it or Democrats?
Well, I guess Democrats as a whole.
I mean, that's been hard for me. in this election, because I'm like, can't you guys see what she's doing and what she's done? Doesn't it offend your moral sensibilities? And so it's something that I've learned about the left through this whole process, that they really have an ends justify the means attitude, and then they don't have to deal with their conscience because they think that they're doing the right thing, and so that allows them to be just impossible fascists under the guise of being benevolent, which just makes them very, very dangerous.
And we saw this this kind of mindset a couple weeks ago when Lauren Southern herself was attacked. Yeah, and what do you make of this sentiment taking hold? Because it's a lot stronger in Canada from what I've seen.
I mean, it's easy for me to see these people for what they are, but they can't see themselves for what they are. I mean, but this mentality is what led people to, although they didn't fundamentally agree with it, to be Nazis because of social pressure. I mean, what they want is a collective that is governed by elitists, and they want a globalist society, and that's a really, you're talking about the Jordan Peterson event, right? Or
yes, ma'am.
Peters? Is he's also being interviewed by you?
He was our first.
Oh, really?
Yes,
How'd that
ma'am.
go?
It went really well. He ripped into cultural Marxism like I've never seen before.
That guy is tough, and he's right. Did you see that they were yelling shame at him?
Yes.
Shame. Like, oh my God. These people, are you even listening to yourself? Like, look at what you're doing. You're literally publicly shaming somebody for promoting freedom of speech. Like, these people should be able to self-reflect and see that this is ridiculous, but they just can't.
Well, I mean, the 50th time they said shame, I started to change my mind.
I know, right? Oh, I get it now. I get it.
Now, I think a lot of this started coming to a head with third wave feminism regaining popularity. Now, what are your feelings towards feminism?
So I guess I never would have really identified as a feminist, but always kind of was one. And so I majored in finance and economics, then I worked on Wall Street, and like after college, I was just like, this is terrible. This is ruining my life. Like, I'm wasting my 20s. I just want to be a mom, but I have all this pressure to have an amazing career that's making me like really fundamentally unhappy. And nobody gave me that as like a potential outcome for my life. It was like, you're going to have a career, not like, if you want to have a family instead, then that's an okay thing to do. It's like, no, you're going to have a career. Society's going to shun you. And so I was doing something that was making me very unhappy, and like I just hated my lifestyle, hated my life, and I was like, why? Why is this not giving me satisfaction? And then it took a few years for me to realize that it's because I wasn't doing what I really wanted to do, which was, meet a nice guy, have kids, raise said kids. And so I've been very resentful towards third wave feminism for kind of making me feel like I was less than for fundamentally wanting a lifestyle that's more natural for a woman to achieve. And so I've had this really hostile relationship with feminism ever since I realized that they're really indoctrinating women and telling them that something that is probably not going to make them happy definitely will make them happy, and it's the only way that they're going to be successful. But if all these women in the career world that like aren't succeeding, if they had kids, they'd probably be great moms, And that's a really important job. It's a really important job. And so I think that it's important, especially for people in college like you guys, all marry each other, start having kids.
Thank you for that. Now, there's this conflation of movements and ideologies with identities of people. You have Black Lives Matter with black people, and you have feminism with women. But polls come out year after year, and it's showing that no, this is not the case at all. Not even a majority of these classes of people, as they want to call them, agree with this ideology that's supposed to be pro their identity. So why do you think that they do this and they're unable to separate the two, the movement with the person?
I think it's probably easier to deal with these things and to control people when there's pressures like as a whole. They don't want to deal with the individual, and that kind of goes, across the board. They're not thinking like, well, this is what's best for this woman. It's about attacking the family unit, and the best way to do that from a feminist perspective is, to force a woman into a career beyond her childbearing years, like things like that. Am I frozen because you're lagging a few seconds?
No, you're good.
Ooh, now you're frozen again.
Oh
no.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, we're good.
All right.
But I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Oh, you were crap. I don't remember.
Black Lives Matter, conflating. Why can't they separate?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you see this treatment of black conservatives especially, like, Ben Carson, like how the black community treats Ben Carson. It's like, shouldn't you be happy of, this guy that came out of the Detroit ghetto and is now like a renowned surgeon at Johns Hopkins? Shouldn't you be like, wow, this black success story? But he's not the right kind of black guy, and that's the way that they treat all these rich people. I'm not the right kind of woman. Milo's not the right kind of gay. Blair White's not the right kind of tranny. So they can't only deal with these things on a whole. They only speak in generalities because they're collectivists.
Yeah, and I think it's a very dangerous thing because, especially around here, if you're a Republican Hispanic or a Hispanic Republican, they call you a sellout or I think it's a coconut or something like that. You're whitewashed. And what are the other ones? I'm hearing a bunch, but you hear these sort of things, but I want to make it very clear that we don't owe La Raza a damn thing because they never gave us anything.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
why do you think that there's this idea behind a person's skin color and then having to owe themselves to the greater demographic?
I mean, I don't think that it's necessarily that way, but that's the only way it's going to work for the left. If people maintain these allegiances to their ethnicity above, assimilation, above Americanism. And that's what they want. That's why they're constantly vouching for ways that people that move to this country can, retain the negative aspects of their culture and implant that in American culture. It's just about breaking the foundational values apart. That's always what it comes back to with the left.
So do you think that these social justice movements, do you think the members of them have become the new brown shirts and then they have replaced Jewish people with white people?
I mean, yeah, anyway, we're obviously not facing persecution to like that degree or anything like that, but the tactics are the same. It's all ad hominem attacks. It's a lot of psychological warfare. It's a lot of public shaming. Social alienation. And I think women are particularly susceptible to this. I read some study that a woman being alienated from her peers, it has the same kind of psychological damage as losing somebody in her immediate family. And so I think that these psychological tactics of social alienation, and that's how they're pushing, feminism on women. They say if you're not a feminist, you don't believe in equality between the genders. That's how they truly, that's how they truly affect all of us because they're able to control us in that way. And that was a methodology of brown shirts, I'm sure, and a lot of propaganda.
And you see that especially with Francesca Ramsey and Lacey Green of MTV, their new so-called shows.
Now, so hypocritical. Especially Lacey Green, who can't if somebody calls her a bitch, she's like, I can't believe that you would say something so offensive to me. But then she's teaching 15-year-olds how to have anal sex. Do you not see the incongruity here, Lacey Green? But she doesn't. She thinks she's doing a big service for women. Oh gosh, she's the worst. And then the race baiting of that other one is downright dangerous.
Oh yeah, and when these individual women are insulted, a lot of the time when I get into arguments on campus about Donald Trump, they say, well, just look at the way he treats women, and I counter that with, well, he insulted individual women, not women as a whole. But they seem to think that they are equal to men, but you can't treat them the same as a man, because if we look back at what Donald Trump had said to men, using their line of reasoning, it would serve to say, doesn't he hate men too? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I made a video about this, but women, feminists, they don't want true equality because that would mean, it's not like we would have equality just for all the cushy office jobs. It means we also have to go to war, be plumbers, be lumberjacks, jobs that would really, really suck and nobody wants to do and men end up doing. And then chicks are I want to do those jobs too. No, you don't. You don't want to do that job. That's a terrible job. I just find it hard to believe that all these feminists really want firearms training and to go to war. They would just be screwed.
Yeah, well, based on your Halloween Twitter pic, I think you would make a great lumberjack.
God, stupid skag. I was so mad at him for making me do that. No cross-dressing. No, you're gonna ruin my image. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ooh.
I know. I'm sorry, my little dog. I just pressed on his paw.
Oh.
I am awesome at this.
Yeah, I think he just won the entire room over. Um, now, come on, man. with things like the Hitler attacks, that's becoming the new norm. It's well, did you know Hitler liked ice cream, therefore you like ice cream, therefore you're a terrible person. Do you think it's ever going to be a reality to separate a person from some good things that they've done, even if the popular opinion is that they're evil?
I certainly hope so. I mean, the only way that we're going to be able to combat cultural Marxism is with nuanced thinking. I mean, dealing in all these black and white, this classism, this gender identity issue. This is all black and white thinking. And unless we can develop like a more intricate thought process whereby we recognize that somebody can be both good and bad, both right and wrong in some instances, then we're not going to be able to climb our way out of this despair that we have gotten into because of this cultural Marxism mindset. So Austin's really liberal, right?
Yes, but we are in El Paso.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it. Dr. Peterson did the same thing. We're a very small group here. And I think we are running out of time, but I would like to have a closing statement from you, whatever it may be.
Well, I'm really glad to be talking to college Republicans because that's about the age when I started realizing, wow, almost everything that I have learned is nonsense, and now I need to unlearn this and take my education upon myself. And so the fact that you guys are here and like doing things like this in your free time and for a club, it's really admirable, and I'm sure you guys are getting really good educations. So yeah, you've avoided the social justice warrior mindset in your most formative years, your most developmental years, and so you should all be really proud of yourselves. And it was an honor to come and talk to you, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for that.
All right, thank you, and thank you again for taking this on such short notice.
Of course, sorry for the technological problems. I don't know if that was me or you. So
it's totally fine, and we hope you tune in with us for your partner Beta, who will be on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right, you have a good night.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Are there any?
Nobody leaves. There's pizza on the way.
Yeah. Are there any other questions or anything like that we need to go through? Any confusion? No. For the general discussion.
Was she only available for a little bit or what?
No, we're good. Okay, so I'm still on audio. Right. Okay, so I'm the recruitment officer of the UTEP College Republicans, that is the University of Texas at El Paso. We thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope to see you next week with our next leg of the Unfiltered lecture series, which will feature Matt Christensen and Justin Little. Justin Little, a.k.a. Vernaculus, which will be on November the 17th at 6 p.m., and he's a constitutionalist, I think. I'm not entirely sure. But, then we will have Gavin McGinnis on November 29th. And if you have any questions about the information or our organization, I have left a link to my email in the description.